So it feels like it's been forever since Werewolf by Night was announced, so long without nary any real update about the project, and a little over a month ago we got the first trailer at D23, and last Friday, or if you're a real one, at 2 a.m. on Extra Wednesday as I like to call it, that night I wasn't a real one, just to be clear, that night, as I had shit to do in the morning, but once I got done with said shit, I cozied up on my bed and set that Disney Plus to play, and I was very whelmed by what I saw. Leading up to the release, lots of reviews were coming out praising this project, how good it was, and how unique it felt for an MCU project. But of course, like with pretty much everything, you can't just rely on the opinion of other people. You gotta figure shit out for yourself by going and consuming the product firsthand, because what doesn't hit for others might just hit for you, and vice versa. It had a very high initial Rotten Tomatoes score of, I believe, around like 97. It might have even had 100, okay? And still, it has a 91% critic rating and a 93% audience score, okay? Now, I wish I didn't have to constantly reiterate this, but I do, because this is the internet. Rotten Tomatoes is not something that I hold as concrete, but it is a solid gauge of where these features stand. So with all that high praise, the amount I wanted to find out was also very high, players. Therefore, the degree at which I had to fuck around needed to parallel that metric. Upon first watch of Werewolf by Night, you immediately get the impression that this is going to be unlike anything you've seen in something from Marvel Studios before. But not just by the black and white, we get some nice jump scare werewolf slashes that pretty much came out of nowhere, for me at least. Plus, we jump right into the story with basically a group of monster hunters meeting up after the main monster hunter of the group, Ulysses Bloodstone, dies, which I believe the stone grants him like immortality, so I was a little confused by that, but we'll get to that later. And now to decide who will keep the sacred relic that is the Bloodstone, that offers a pretty significant power boost, as I just mentioned. Now at Bloodstone Manor, Ulysses' side piece and main antagonist Verussa oversees the group hunt down a monster with the stone embedded into it, and whoever gets to that monster first and kills it wins the relic. And that monster just so happens to be the ever-loving red-eyed Man-Thing, or Ted Sallis in the comics. And it turns out him and Jack Russell are already friends, and Jack intends to help his friend out of another jam, and he does that with the help of Elsa Bloodstone, that has come back to participate in the hunt to retrieve the stone for unknown reasons, or the fact that it'll just, make her OP as shit, much to her stepmother Verussa's dismay. And during the hunt, Jack and Elsa kind of make an alliance to work together. They don't fight each other like how it would have seemed they would. Jack also says some low-key profound things about family, and they help each other by helping Man-Thing escape and retrieving the Bloodstone from him. And after Ted dips, Jack reaches for the Bloodstone and it blasts him back, hurting him and outing him as a monster, the very thing that they're trying to hunt, the very thing that they oppose. So Verussa cages him and Elsa together with the intention of transforming him with the Bloodstone, and him killing Elsa in the process for her transgressions against the family. Lays some hands on Verussa, but then the guards start zapping him, and damn, I know it must have smelled like shit in there, like pure shit up in there, okay? All that smoke coming off of that fur, they were basically smoking on that dog pack, okay? But when you know it, he gets free and starts whooping ass, tearing ACLs, showing off his hops, getting in some nice throat rips, and when he is almost in danger because of that old slag Verussa Bay, Elsa Bloodstone comes through and sets Verussa up for a donkey punch from the earth. And then the big whiff works, it comes through, and Jack remembers Elsa and doesn't attack her and basically dips, with Man-Thing proving to be a real one, and he comes back to get his friends back and to light the shit up out of Verussa. And the story ends with Elsa taking control of Bloodstone Manor and Jack waking up at what looks like, as we could only assume to be, the nexus of all realities, the swamp, with his buddy Ted. Now, this is the first Marvel special presentation. I think they're experimenting with what works. I think for the most part, besides Loki, most of the Marvel Disney Plus releases have admittedly been lackluster, having some great moments, producing likable characters, but with stories and plots that feel mostly off or incomplete. And I'm happy to say that really isn't the case here. I think this project does exactly what it sets out to do: honor the monster movies from the 30s with that macabre type tone and style, offer a couple scares, and expands the supernatural side of the MCU with new characters we want to root for. I was always going to watch this one because of my affinity for werewolves, plus plus you add Marvel in there and Gail Bernal as the lead, then I'm extra in. I think Gail did a great job being compelling and sweet as Jack Russell for that to be contrasted so heavily by the ruthless savage that was Werewolf by Night. I like a Van Helsing type of werewolf, if I'm just being honest, but I like how they honor the look from the comics, and I think they did very well with that. The action, it's pretty solid, okay? More gore than you'd expect from a Disney production. Lots of people were giving it props for that, although I'd say Multiverse of Madness goes a little bit harder in that regard, and they got a little bit saved with the whole black and white. They got to do a little bit extra than I imagined they would have. Fight choreography, solid just as well. It always just makes me think of how like ridiculous Teen Wolf was when you see werewolves like fighting. Like, I don't know, like if they somehow gained a bunch of fight experience from transforming into a werewolf. I'm much more in favor of like a feral slashing beast of a werewolf, but for what they were going for, they were successful, even if it's not exactly my thing. I think Michael Giacchino, being the composer that he is, lent so much to this feature. Like the sound design and the timing of everything really worked, and his skill there I think really lent itself to horror, because some of those jump scares did get me. Elsa is also a solid new character added to the MCU, and this might be my first introduction to Laura Donnelly, but she's banned up until Spooky Season Ends players, and then it's probably going to be Denai Guerrero. Also, Man-Thing was just dope as fuck to see. Like, I really love seeing these deep cut kind of characters, or at least the characters that are super popular, like with actual comic book readers, get their time to shine in the MCU, because I think that's what it's all about, getting like the weirdest aspects in the Marvel universe into the Marvel Cinematic Universe, so everybody can see how badass these characters are. I think they actually made a practical Man-Thing, which they probably used for the last scene, I'd imagine, because he looks so good there. Now, the only real criticisms I have is that I do kind of wish it was longer, maybe an extra 10 to 15 minutes. I would have liked a little more time with the characters to explore their history and motivations, get a little bit more from Man-Thing as well, because his backstory is so crazy. I did also kind of think, just a bit, the werewolf suffered from the whole Godzilla 2013 syndrome. Like, the title character is Werewolf by Night, but the werewolf is only in the feature for about 10 to 7 minutes. But the thing is, it's pretty understandable given the actual non-intro and non-credit runtime of about 47 minutes. Plus, it also lent to the spectacle of the reveal for the werewolf when it did finally come. By the end of everything, we definitely are left with more questions than answers, but it was honestly quite refreshing to not know. I'm very curious now what's the next move for all these characters, because I'm invested in seeing where they go from here on out. At the end of the day, I don't know if I'd say Werewolf by Night is a real 91%, although I can totally understand why some people would give it that, but it most definitely is a good and worthy entry for the MCU. I mean, look at all this worthiness right here. So that's why I will be giving Werewolf by Night a fluctuating 8 to 8.5 out of 10. It knew exactly what it was, it didn't overstay its welcome or take up unnecessary time, and it delivers on what it promises, being a werewolf flick. I'm hoping Michael Giacchino has some influence over the foreseeable future of the supernatural side of the MCU, because he did an excellent job here. I also think because of the success of this special presentation, we can expect to see more of these and maybe less shows. Maybe these special presentations will be more refined than the shows, and they won't waste extra time in shows for characters that might have just done way better with a special presentation. But that's just my opinion, guys. What did you think about it? Let me know your scores for it and where you think these characters will pop up in the future, or at least where you'd like to see them, okay? Crossing my fingers for Monsteropolis. That's pretty much it, guys. If you like the video, leave me a thumbs up, comment down below, and if you want, subscribe. I always appreciate it. Thank you guys so much for watching. I hope all of you guys are well, and I'll see you in the next one.